what's going on, family? Listen, we've had a lot of amazing guests on the show, and perhaps you may have never, ever listened to those episodes. So we wanted to present a new segment called SONW Classic, where we go back, we revisit those iconic conversations, and give those full episodes back to you. Sit back and enjoy this week's SONW Classic. So I want to talk about something that's important because you just hinted towards it. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, people are listening to this right now, wanting to get their emails open, wanting to get them read, wanting to get paid, wanting to be that inbox hero that you talk about, right? So break it down for our audience. What are what are some tips? Give us 3 to 5 tips on how people can go from nobody reading their message to people opening it and purchasing their products, and most importantly, becoming a part of their community.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I like to make every email that I write to my list feel like what I call an EFAB. That's an email from a bestie. I think it is the most important thing to sound like a human talking to a human, and more than that, a friend. Because think about first the way we go through our actual mail. If anyone still picks up mail from the mailbox, which you should on occasion, there might be something important in there. We take the stack and we hold it over the garbage can. We go junk mail, junk mail, junk mail, junk mail. Something for me. Junk mail, junk mail, junk mail. Something for me. Yep. And that something for me is so exciting when there's actually an envelope with handwriting on it, and when it's real handwriting and not fake from a credit card company. And so that's the exact same way we go through our inbox. We scroll through it going junk mail, junk mail, junk mail, junk mail, something for me. And a lot of it is stuff that we signed up for. And most of it we skip, even though we signed up for it, until we hit something that's so intriguing and so compelling at a glance. And that feels like it's from a person to us. Like it actually feels like, oh, this was written to me. Subject lines are key. Right. These are how we get our emails open.
What subject lines are you seeing are working the best?
It screams newsletter. No, I don't even capitalize the first letter sometimes. I write it in the form that I would write a text, where we've gotten really sloppy, right? But I take that sloppiness and I send it to my list, because now texts are how we receive messages from our friends. So I like to take that form and put it in and use it for the subject line. So you might see no punctuation at all. That's my style. It might not be right for you. But in terms of what kinds of subject lines work for me, it's not so much the straightforward, like, here are 5 tips to, jack up your open rates. It's not so tactical as it is usually intriguing, mysterious, maybe a little bit of conflict and story in the subject line. So one of my most opened ever is have to cancel. And then I think it might have had a frowny face. So everyone opened that. They were like, oh, is this for me? What's canceled? And the body of the email was about how those are my favorite 3 words to hear, because I love it when plans are canceled. Another one that's really popular that is part of a launch sequence that I do for Inbox Hero is dude. Just dude. And people open it. They're like, dude, what? So things that you would write to a friend. And then sometimes I'll put things in, like, sometimes I'll get really crafty and use the person's name, because you can personalize your subject lines. Yeah. So it might be so-and-so's emails, like Anthony's email. So you get one that would say Anthony's emails. And you'd be like, what about my emails? And you'd open it up and say, and another one that I have would say, I'm in love with Anthony. And in quotation marks. So quotation marks can work really well. I have a whole guide to subject lines, like my 33 most open subject lines. If your people want that, if you want me to give it as gift, my 33 most open subject lines, and 4 that tanked and why. Plus templates to make your own. So they're all different kinds there. Some are more instructional, imply that there's going to be something tactical in there. And some are just totally mysterious and intriguing.
Okay, so let's go beyond the subject line, right? Let's say
Yeah.
I got into, I opened the email now, the blueberry one, or, I opened the email about dude. Like, what's some of the substance that's inside of that email that will lead to an
hmm
actual, an action from the person listening or reading?
The other part of getting the email open, getting them to open it, besides that trust that you're building over time, so
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, I'll open anything that you send me," is the preview text. So we'll get to the content in a second, but this is a trick
Mm,
that almost nobody talks about. So, when you're scrolling through your inbox and there are a few under the subject line, there are 2 lines or sometimes 3 lines, depending on your settings,
yeah.
that you see. People ignore that. They don't use it at all. They don't leverage that. So you can customize that part to make it like a second subject line so that it supports your subject line or works pairs with it. You can put a teaser there. And I think that you should always pay attention to that preview text and look at it. Send yourself a test and look at it in your own inbox and ask yourself, does this make me want to click it open?
Mm,
So there's that. So now, when we're talking about the body of the email,
yeah.
when I talked about making it feel like an EFAB, it's not just in the subject line, it's also in the body of the email and your writing style. So you want to be conversational, friendly, write to one person. Always make sure that you are writing to one person, not just in your mind, not just somebody that you picture, but also in the text that you're writing. You don't want to address a crowd because people aren't gathered around a laptop reading an email together. You don't want to say, hey, everybody, or hey, friends, not only because there's a slight disconnect there when you're reading the email,
Mm,
but also because it takes a feeling of responsibility off of the reader. So you want to address one person
mm,
and make that person and talk to them as if they are your good friend or your best friend. So you want to make your tone, you want to make your prose really conversational. So one thing that you might notice yourself doing, because this has been drilled into us, is avoiding contractions.
mm.
So contractions are those combo words, like instead of should not, shouldn't, or instead of I will, I'll, will, you were. So those words are that's how we talk when we're talking in real life. We
Yep.
don't say you will never guess who is coming to the party tonight. You'd say you'll never guess who's coming to the party tonight, right?
Yep.
So to get yourself doing contractions, you just wanna work that right, if you're a touch typer, that right pinky, the one that touches, your old friend, Mr. Apostrophe. So get in the habit of putting in apostrophes, making contractions, and, you'll probably find that you don't do it naturally. So you wanna start reading your stuff aloud, where you find yourself changing it with your voice, like, "I don't talk that way." Change it on the page accordingly. It
And,
makes a huge difference.
and it makes you so real and it makes you so authentic. And I think that's the key, right? Instead of sounding like I robot, like when people
Mhm.
read something, it gives them also your sense of personality. And in terms of someone that they get all those X's, they get all those T's crossed, those I's dotted, and they're
Mhm.
trying to get someone to do the final call to action, make the purchase. Like
Yeah.
what's some of your best, your copy tips on getting people to do that?
I don't think that you're going to sell in every email. Okay, so we hear this buzzword value, right? And we get the impression, if we're in the marketing world at all, that value has to mean actionable tips.
Yeah,
It does not. There are so many kinds of value that you
tell
can
them.
deliver in your emails. So you are delivering value if you make me see something differently. If you
Mm,
make me say, huh, I never thought of it that way. Or that's exactly what I was thinking, but I didn't know how to say it. Or, oh, I'm so glad I'm not alone. Or just if you make me laugh, if you entertain me, like that is tons of value. If you send me something that I want to forward to somebody, like you've got to read this, that's value. So it does not have to be an actionable tip. It can be sometimes, but I think you want to mix it up and tell stories about your life.
mm.
They can be stories about your life or they can be stories about somebody else if that's more your style. But stories are what create that connection with our reader. And I vote for showing it all. I'm an oversharer. And I think it serves me really well because people know so much about me that they feel they know me. And then when it comes time to buy from me, when I send that email saying, it's open, cart's open, buy now.
Yeah.
They even skip the sales page. They go to the sales page and skip right to the buy button because it's like, oh, Laura's my friend. We haven't met, but I feel like she's my friend. I know everything about her. So they know all these stories about me. They feel connected with me, and that's why they buy.
Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawn R. Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.